Our third day in Alaska started off with clear skies and was a nice change in weather compared to the day before. We headed out for some breakfast and noticed these cute little bird statues atop the street signs along the way. We chose to eat breakfast at the Breeze Inn restaurant, and I ordered some classic pancakes and eggs. On the way back to our Airbnb, we made a stop for some coffee at this unique place called the Resurrect Art Coffee House, which once served as the Seward Methodist Church. As you walk in, you'll notice the inside structure has been kept the same for the most part. They also sell art made by local artists, and the second-story balcony and priest office has been turned into an additional seating area. Then it was time to check in for our 4-hour wildlife tour around Resurrection Bay and Kenai Forest National Park. This tour is done by Major Marines Tour Company and costs about $90 per person. The crew members were very welcoming and friendly, and I really like the fact that they assign you seating so there's no pushing and shoving for a seat like we've experienced on other similar cruises. Although you are still free to move and stand around different places on the ship, the assigned seating just gives you a place to leave your stuff. The ship leaves directly out of the famous Seward fishing docks. We chose to stand in the front of the boat for the best viewing of wildlife on both sides of the ship. As soon as we left the docks, we were greeted with beautiful mountain landscapes on both sides. We had our first wildlife encounter only about 15 minutes after leaving the docks. A pod of orcas was moving through the bay directly in front of us. By law, boats have to shut down their engines whenever they come within a certain distance to orcas so as not to disturb them. So when we reached that distance, the captain shut everything down and we began to drift with the current. That's when we had a special up-close encounter with some curious orcas as they swam directly under the boat.
Oh, they're right there. Oh my god. They're under the boat. Oh my god.
If you want a more elevated and 360 view of the bay, you can go up to the top floor viewing platform, but be careful while moving around the ship as the waters can get rough at times. Major Marine Tours does not follow a set route. Instead, they base the cruise routes off of current wildlife sightings in the bay by communicating with other ships. This means you won't get the same tour twice. This is the general route we took on this particular day, with the orca sightings happening just about here. The next stop on our voyage was a cove known as God's Pocket. Here we saw some bald eagles hanging out in the trees and some jellyfish swimming below. In the next cove over, we saw some stellar sea lions lounging on some rocks. Then we took off across the inlet, and as you can see from the video, encountered some bigger waves along the way. If you are easily motion sick, I would not recommend doing this cruise without taking motion sickness medication first. And if you do stand in the front like we did, you will get cold from the constant blast of wind, especially in the fall and springtime. Our next stop was Spire Cove, known for its unique rock formations, and a quick Google search will show you that they are very popular landmarks for photographers to capture. We also caught a quick glimpse of another stellar sea lion here. Then we headed on to Bear Glacier. You can't get very close to the glacier on this particular tour, however the views of it are still amazing even from this distance. At this point I was freezing from the constant wind and cold, so we headed inside the heated cabin for a warm drink and to defrost for a few minutes. We made a final stop in this small cove where the captain moved the ship briefly under this tiny waterfall. Luckily we were able to narrowly avoid the splash zone. On our way back to the docks, we were greeted by some more wildlife. A pod of Dall's porpoises swam alongside the boat for a few minutes, and was a really cool sight to witness. Our final wildlife sighting of the day was this lone sea otter who was lounging and floating along with the current. Even as our cruise came to an end, we were able to see some beautiful landscapes as we pulled back into the fishing docks. A furry boat captain greeted us as we docked.
It's a sailor kitty.
And with that, we disembarked from the ship and set out on a new mission, to find some dinner. Luckily, we didn't have to go too far, as right next door was Chinook's Seafood Restaurant. Since Seward is a major Alaska fishing port, it's not surprising that it's also known for its seafood, and is something you should try at least once while visiting. I had some delicious crab cakes and enjoyed the view of the bay while I ate. After dinner, we decided to visit a few shops on Main Street, and then ended our day at the Yukon Bar. This bar has been in operation for over 80 years, and is considered a key local hangout. Be aware they are a cash-only establishment. If dive bars and good conversations are your kind of thing, then this is a must-stop place on your visit to Seward. And that's how we spent our third day in Alaska. For more information on the places we visited, see the description below and watch part 4 of this series to see which town we ended up visiting next.